okay, you have to go to probate to collect an asset of someone who's died. What's the next step? We call this phase of the probate process opening probate, and it's a phase where we have to gather a lot of information. So, what sort of information do we need to gather? First, we need to gather information about what the deceased person owned at death. We need to know the proximate value of all of their assets. We need to know if it was jointly owned by a trust or just owned by them individually. And we need to know if there are any beneficiaries on any of their accounts, and if so, are they living? So that's the major information that we need to know about assets. We also need to understand the debt of the decedent, because that also has to be reported on the opening probate documents. And so this would include a mortgage, a car loan, student loans. If a family member or friend loaned them money, we would need to know about that. All those things would be included there. Then we need to know information about the deceased person's family. So the deceased person's family has a right to know that the probate proceeding is going on. And oftentimes, this means that we are going to have to provide written notice of the probate proceeding to the immediate family. Now, if it's a blended family or they don't have children, there can be more complicated requirements on who gets notice. But just to keep this video brief, in a situation where someone's married and has kids, there's notice to spouse and children. We also have to provide notice to any creditors. That's important if the person who died had a will and people are inheriting under the will, like a friend or a niece or a sister. We have to give notice to anyone inheriting under that will. If the decedent was foreign born, we have to give notice to the consulate. If there's a charity involved, we have to give some notice to the government. So there's a bunch of different notices that have to go out about that this person died and we're having this probate. And those people or entities get listed in the petition and demarcated there. We also need to know if the deceased person had a will. Do you have the original copy of the will, or do we only have a photocopy? So things like that we need to know. What county did they pass away in? Where do they own real estate? Because we need to make sure that we open up probate in the appropriate county. So there's a lot of different things to consider when opening probate and preparing the opening documents. After those are prepared, the nominated personal representative, or sometimes called an executor in other states, have to sign that opening petition. And that gets submitted to the court. And then in a formal unsupervised probate, then the court will write back and say, there's a hearing on such and such a date. And with that information, we have to give written notice to all those interested person, the family members and the creditors and the consulate. We have to give notice to all those individuals that the hearing is going to happen. And we have to publish notice of the hearing in a newspaper with enough days in advance so that it meets the statutory requirement. And then with that, you have the probate hearing. So that is the process in opening up a formal probate.